Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Naram Namaskritya Naram Cha Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sakya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, today we are starting new chapter, chapter 75, Duryodhan humiliated, text 1 and 2 onwards. Shri Raja Vacha Jata Shatrus Tam Drishtva Rajasuya Mahodayam Sarve Mumudire Brahman Vrideva Yasamagata Duryodhanam Varjayitva Rajana Sarashaya Sura Iti Shuttam No Bhagavan Tatra Karanam Uchyatam. Maharaj Parikshit said, "O Brahman, according to what I have heard from you, all the assembled kings, sages and demigods were delighted to see the wonderful festivities of King Ajat Shatru's Rajasuya sacrifice, with the sole exception of Duryodhana. Please tell me why this was so, my lord." So Ajat Shatru, that was Maharaj Yudhishthira, means he had no enemy. In the word-to-word meaning it says, whose enemy was never born. Means Duryodhana was his enemy, but Yudhishthira Maharaj never had any animosity towards him. Duryodhana had his enemy and nature, enemical nature towards Yudhishthira. Shri Badrayana Ruvach Pitamahasya te yagye rajasuya mahatmana bandhava parichayayam pretasyasan prema bandhana. Shri Badrayani said, at the Rajasuya sacrifice of your saintly grandfather, his family members, bound by their love for him, engaged themselves in humble services on his behalf. King Yudhishthira did not force his relatives to accept different tasks at the sacrifice. Rather, out of their love for him, they volunteered for such duties. Bhimo Mahana Sadhyaksho Dhanadhyaksha Suyodhana Sahadevastu Pujayam Naklu Dravya Sadhane Guru Shushrune Dishnu Krishna Padavane Gane Pariveshane Drupadya Karno Dane Mahamana Yuyudhano Vikarnasya Hardikya Viduradaya Bhavik Putra Puryatya Echa Santardhanadaya Nirupita Mahayagye Nana Karmasute Tada Pravartante Sma Rajendra Rakya Priya Chikishava. Bhima supervised the kitchen. Duryodhan looked after the treasury, while Sahadev respectfully greeted the arriving guests. Nakula procured needed items. Arjun attended the respectable elders, and Krishna washed everyone's feet. Krishna himself. While Draupadi served food, and generous Karna gave out the gifts. Many others, such as Yuyudhan, Vikarna, Hardikya, Vidura, Bhurishav, and other sons of Mahalik and Santardhan, similarly volunteered for various duties during the elaborate sacrifice. They did so because of the eagerness to please Maharaj Yudhishthira, the best of kings. Ritvik Sadasya Bahuvitsu Svrittameshu Svisteshu Sunrit Samarhana Dakshinabhi Chaddecha Satvatvatesh Charanam Pravishte Chakrus Tatastava Britas Snapnam Dunadyam. After the priests, the prominent delegates, the greatly learned saints, and the king's most intimate well-wishers had all been properly honored with pleasing words, auspicious offerings, and various gifts as remuneration. And after the king of Chedi had entered the lotus feet of the lord of the Satavatas, the Avabhrita bath was performed in the divine river Yamuna. So the gifts offered to the distinguished guests included valuable jewelry. So Maharaj Yudhishthira took Avabhrita Snan in Yamunaji after everything was over. Mridanga Shanka Panava Dhundur Yanak Gomukha Vaditrani Vichitrani Nedura Brithotsavi. During the Avbrit celebration, the music of many kinds of instruments resounded, including mridangas, conch shells, panavas, dunduris, kettle drums, and gomukh horns. Nartakyo Nandru Turhrishta Gayaka Yuthasho Jaguhu Veena Venu Talo Nandas Teshamsa Divamas Prishat. Female dancers danced with great joy and choruses sang while the loud vibrations of venas, flutes, and hand cymbals reached all the way to the heavenly regions. चित्रध्वज पताकाग्रैर एवेन्द्रस्य नन्दनार्वभिः स्वलङ्कृतैर भटैरभूपा निर्ययुरुक्ममालिना. All the kings wearing gold necklaces then set off for the Yamuna. They had flags and banners of various colors and were accompanied by infantrymen and well-adorned soldiers riding lordly elephants, chariots, and horses. Yadusrinjay Kamboja Guru Kekaya Koshala Kampayanto Bhuvam Sanya Yajamanapura Saraha. The massed armies of the Yadus, Srinjayas, Kambos, Kurus, Kakyas, Koshals made the earth tremble as they followed Maharaj Yudhishthira, the performer of the sacrifice in procession. Sadasya Drij Shveshtha Brahma Ghoshena Bhuyasa Devarshi Pitri Gandharvas Tushtuva Pushpa Varshina. The assembly officials, the priests, and other excellent Brahmins resoundingly vibrated Vedic mantras, while the demigods, divine sages, pitas, and Gandharvas sang praises and rained down flowers on Maharaj Yudhishthira. Swalankrita Nara Naryo Gandhasriga Bhushanambara Vilimpantayo Abhi Sinchantayo Vijaruhur Vividharasa. Men and women, all adorned with sandalwood paste, flower garlands, jewelry, and fine clothing, sported by smearing and sprinkling one another with various liquids. So much of festivity is going on. Tal Gora Sagandoda Haridra Sandru Kumkumahe Pumbera Lipta Pralimpanteo Vijaruhurvar Yoshita. The men smeared the courtesans with plentiful oil, yogurt, perfumed water, turmeric, and kumkum powder, and the courtesans playfully smeared the men with the same substances. Prabhupada describes the scene. The men and women of Hastinapur or Indraprastha, their bodies smeared with scents and floral oils, were nicely dressed in colorful garments and decorated with garlands, jewels, and ornaments. They were all enjoying the ceremony, and they threw on one end the liquid substances like water, oil, milk, butter, and yogurt. Some even smeared these on each other's bodies. In this way, they were enjoying the occasion. The professional prostitutes were also engaged by jubilantly smearing these liquid substances on the bodies of the men, and the men reciprocated in the same way. All the liquid substances had been mixed with turmeric and saffron, and the color was a lustrous yellow. So much of detail Prabhupada has given. Gupta niribhir nirga gaman upalabdhumetad devyo yatha divi vimana varerin videvyo tamatuleya sakhivi parishichyamana savrida hasa vikasat vadana virejo. Surrounded by guards, King Yudhishthira's queens came out on their chariots to see the fun, just as the demigods' wives appeared in the sky in celestial airplanes. As maternal cousins and intimate friends sprinkled the queens with liquids, the ladies' faces bloomed with shy smiles, enhancing the queen's splendid beauty. The maternal cousins referred to here are Lord Krishna and such brothers of his as Gada and Shara. And the friends mentioned here are such persons as Bhima and Arjuna. Ta devaranutta sakhina sishichur dritibhi kilannam bara vivrit gatra kuchor madhya odsukyam ukta kavarachaya vaman malya kshobam dadhurmala dhyam ruchirer vihara. As a queen squirted water from syringes at their brothers-in-law and other male companions, their own garments became drenched, revealing their arms, breasts, thighs, and waists. In their excitement, the flowers fell from the loosened braids. By these charming pastimes, they agitated those with contaminated consciousness. Srila Prabhupada writes, such behavior between pure males and females is enjoyable, but it makes persons who are materially contaminated become lustful. Sa samradratham arudha sadashvam rukma malinam vyarochat swapatnibhi kriyabhi krituradeva. The emperor, mounted upon his chariot drawn by excellent horses wearing golden collars, appeared splendid in the company of his wives, just like the brilliant Rajya sacrifice, surrounded by its various rituals. King Yudhishthira and his queens appeared like the personified Rajya sacrifice, surrounded by its beautiful rituals. Patni samya Yajavabhrityasha charitva te tamrit vijaha achantam snapyam chakrur gangayam sah krishnaya. The priests led the king through the execution of the final rituals of Patni Sanjay and Samyaj and Avabhritya. Then they had him and Queen Draupadi sip water for purification and bathe in the Ganges. Devadundubhyo nedur nardundubhi vibhi samam mamochu pushpa varshani devarshi pitri manava. The kettle drums of the gods resounded along with those of human beings. Demigods, sages, forefathers, and humans all poured down showers of flowers. Sasas nustatra tatah sarve varnasham yita naraha mahapatakyapi yitaha sadhya muccheta kilvishat. All the citizens belonging to the various orders of Varna and Ashram then bathed in that place where even the most grievous sinner can immediately be freed from all sinful reactions. Ath Raja Hatekshomi Paridhaya Swalankrita Ritvik Sadasya Vipradin Anar Chabharam Bharanambara. Next, the king put on new silken garments and adorned himself with fine jewelry. He then honored the priests, assembly officials, learned Brahmins, and other guests by presenting them with ornaments and clothing. Srila Prabhupada writes, the king not only dressed himself and decorated himself, but he also gave clothing and ornaments to all the priests and to others who had participated in the yajnas. In this way, he worshipped them all. Bandhun Gyati Nripana Mitra Suridun Anyascha Sarvasha Abhishanam Pujayamasa Narayana Paro Nripa. In various ways, King Yudhishthira, who had totally dedicated his life to Lord Narayan, continuously honored his relatives, his immediate family, the other kings, his friends and well-wishers, and all others present as well. Sarve Jana Surarucho Mani Kundala Sringh Vushni Shaka Kachu Kudu Kul Mahar Dedhya Haraha Naryascha Kundala Yugalaka Vrinda Jushta Vaktra Shriya Kanaka Mekhale Avireju. All the men there shone like demigods. They were adorned with jeweled earrings, flower garlands, turbans, waistcoats, silk dhotis, and valuable pearl necklaces. The lovely faces of the women were beautified by the mashed earrings and locks of hair, and they all wore golden belts. So much of opulence is there. Athar Tvijo Mahashila Sadasya Brahmavadi Brahma Kshatriya Vita Shudra Rajano Yasamagata Devarshi Pitri Bhutani Lokapala Sahanuga Pujitastam Anugyapya Sudhamani Yayur Dripa. Then the highly cultured priests, the great Vedic authorities who had served as sacrificial witnesses, the specially invited kings, the Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras, demigods, sages, forefathers, and mystic spirits, and the chief planetary rulers and their followers, all of them, having been worshipped by King Yudhishthira, took his permission and departed. O king, each for his own abode. Haridasasya Rajasuya Mahodayam Eva Tripyan Prashamsantah Pibantam Artyomritam Yatha. As they all glorified the wonderful Rajasuya Yajna performed by that great saintly king and servant of Lord Hari, they were not satiated, just as an ordinary man is never satiated when drinking nectar. Tato Yudhishthiro Raja, Surit Sambandhi Bandhavan, Premna Nivari Amasa, Krishnam Tyagakataraha. At that time, Raja Yudhishthira starved a number of his friends, immediate family members, and other relatives from departing. Among them, Lord Krishna. Out of love, Yudhishthira could not let him go, for he felt the pain of imminent separation. Bhagwan api tatranga nyavat sita priyankaraha prasthapya yaduvirascha sambhadisha kushasthalim. My dear Parikshit, the Supreme Lord remained there for some time to please the king, after first sending Samba and other Yadu heroes back to Dwarka. Itham Raja Dharmasuto Manoratham Aharanima Sudustaram Samuttirya Krishna Nasi Gatajwaraha. Thus King Yudhishthir, the son of Dharma, was at last relieved of his burning ambition, having by the grace of Lord Krishna successfully crossed the vast and formidable ocean of his desires. So Srila Prabhupada writes, in the material world, everyone has a particular type of desire to be fulfilled. But one is never able to fulfill his desires or to his full satisfaction. But King Yudhishthira, because of his unflinching devotion to Krishna, could fulfill all his desires successfully by the performance of the Rajya sacrifice. From the description of the Rajya Yajna, it appears that such a function is a great ocean of opulent desires. It's not possible for an ordinary man to cross over such an ocean. Nevertheless, by the grace of Lord Krishna, King Yudhishthira was able to cross over it very easily, and thus became freed from all anxieties. Then what happened? Ekadanta pure tasya viksha duryodhana shriyam attapyat rajasuyasya mahitvam chachutatmanaha. One day Duryodhana, while observing the riches of King Yudhishthira's palace, felt greatly disturbed by the magnificence of both the Rajya sacrifice and its performer, the king, whose life and soul was Lord Achyuta. So this is something materialists do. So here Shukdev Goswami is saying Vishnu Maharaj's life and soul was Krishna. And by Krishna's mercy, he could do everything. But materialistic mentality people like Duryodhana, instead of becoming devotee of Krishna, just become a devotee, you'll also get everything. But no, they become envious, and enviousness means, why Yudhishthira has all this? I should have all this. Yashvin Narendra Diti Jendra Surendra Lakshmi Nana Vibhanti Kil Vishwa Srijo Klipta Tabi Patindra Vadraja Suto Patasthe Yasyam Vishakta Hridaya Gururad Tapyat. In that palace, all the collected opulences of the kings of men, demons, and gods were brilliantly manifest, having been brought there by the cosmic inventor Mayadana. With those riches, Draupadi served her husbands, and Duryodhana, the prince of the Kurus, lamented because he was very much attracted to her. Yasmin tada madhupatir mahishi sahasram shroni bharena shankah kvanadan angrishobham madhye sucharu kuchakumma kshonaharam shriman mukham prachala kundala kundaladhyam. Lord Madhupati's thousands of queens were also staying in the palace. Their feet moved slowly, weighed down by their hips, and the bells on their feet tinkled charmingly. The waists were very slender, the kumkum from their breasts reddened their pearl necklaces, and their swaying earrings and flowing locks of hair enhanced the exquisite beauty of their faces. So Duryodhana, he was so envious of opulence of Yudhishthira Maharaj, is performing Rajya sacrifice, the palace he had, and Draupadi, because Duryodhana also wanted to marry Draupadi, but he could not even lift that bow that was kept. Sabhayam maya kliptayam kwapi dharma suto adhirat vrito anugyara bandhubhisht Krishne napi swachakshusha asina kanchane saksham asane madhuvaniva parmeshthya shriya jushta stuya manascha vandivi. It so happened that Emperor Yudhishthira, the son of Dharma, was sitting just like Indra on a golden throne in the assembly hall built by Mayadana. Present with him were his attendants and family members, and also Lord Krishna, his special eye. Displaying the opulences of Brahma himself, King Yudhishthira was being praised by the court poets. So Krishna is described here as Yudhishthira's special eye, since he advised the king on what was beneficial and what was not. Tatra Duryodhano mani parito bhratre bhirnripa kirita mali nevishat asi hasta kshipan rusha. Proud Duryodhan, holding his sword in his hand and wearing a crown and necklace, angrily went into the palace in the company of his brother, so king, insulting the doorkeepers as he entered. Prabhupada writes, Duryodhana was always in an envious and angry mood, and therefore, in a slight provocation, he spoke sharply with the doorkeepers and became angry. Just like these days also, if some rich man is there, the doorkeeper stops and, oh, don't you know who am I, who my father is? Sthalya abhya grihad vasantram vatsrantam jalam matva sthale apatat jale jastalvad bhrantya maya vimodita. Bewildered by the illusions created by Mayadanav's magic, Duryodhana mistook the solid floor for water and lifted the end of his garment. And elsewhere, he fell into the water, mistaking it for the solid floor. Jahas bhimastam drishtva striyo nirupatayo pari nivarya mana apyanga ragya Krishna anumodita. See, this is important to understand. My dear king, my dear Parikshit, Bhima laughed to see this, and so did the women, kings, and others. King Yudhishthira tried to stop them, but Lord Krishna showed his approval. Lord Krishna gave approval with the gesture of his eyebrows. The Lord had come to the earth to remove the burden of wicked kings, and this incident was not unrelated to Lord's purpose. It's all happening by Krishna's mercy. Savridito avagvadano rushajjala nishkramya tushnim prayayo gajavayam aheti shabda sumahana bhuta satam ajata shatru vimana iva bhavat bhavuva tushnim bhagwan bhuvo param samujihirshu brahmati yapsma yadrisha. Humiliated and burning with anger, Duryodhana turned his face down, left without uttering a word, and went back to Hastinapur. The saintly persons present loudly cried out, Alas, alas, and King Yudhishthira was somewhat saddened. But the Supreme Lord, whose mere glance had bewildered Duryodhana, remained silent, for his intention was to remove the burden of the earth. When Duryodhana left in such an angry mood, everyone regretted the incident, because they knew how cruel he could be. And King Yudhishthira also became very sorry. But despite all these occurrences, Krishna was silent. He did not say anything against or in the favor of the incident. It appeared that Duryodhana had been put into illusion by the supreme will of Lord Krishna. And this was the beginning of the enmity between the two sects of the Kuru dynasty. This appears to be a part of Krishna's plan in his mission to decrease the burden of the world. Etatte abhihitam rajan yat prishto aham ihtvaya suyodhanasya dauratmem rajasuya mahakritam. I have now replied to your question, O king, concerning why Duryodhana was dissatisfied on the occasion of the great Akasuya sacrifice. So thus ends the purpose to 10th canto, 75th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Duryodhana Humiliated. So we'll start here. We'll start the new chapter tomorrow. See anybody has any questions or comments. And I hope you all are ready for the Pandav Nirjala Ekadashi Vrata on Saturday. For you, it's on Saturday. From us here, it's on Friday. So be ready for that. We'll just chant, chant, and chant. Hare Krishna. So we'll stop here. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.